fine. I've got it. Now that I have control, I'll record it. I've got it started.
Okay.
Okay, great. So fire away with your questions and let me answer them for you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Marylyn Todd from New Hampshire Voter Integrity Group, and we have been working with many New Hampshire heroes to get a forensic audit here in New Hampshire due to a very significant anomaly that happened in the Windham, New Hampshire recount. I am here with JovanHuttonPulitzer, who many New Hampshire residents find it imperative to add his name to the hat. We are here tonight to submit his application. Thank you, Jovan, for joining me tonight. I'm just going to ask you the same questions the board asked the other applicants, which started with a brief 5-minute summary. Also, if you are available for the audit, and last, do you possess the resources for the audit?
Sure. Do you want me to start with any particular questions of that or just go from there?
That was like the summary. They
Not a
want
problem.
the summary. Yeah.
Not a problem. Let me explain my background real quick so you understand what I bring to the table. If you use a mobile phone to use the internet, and if in fact you use your mobile phone to shop, to scan codes, whether it be a Q code, barcode, find comparative prices, or you go through an airport and you now set the code down versus a boarding pass, or even a toll booth where you don't throw the change anymore, it connects to the code in your car. I'm the man that invented those technologies. And so my technologies are on about 15 billion with a B mobile devices around the globe. All mobile devices are subject to it. And so my background specifically when it comes to that, which applies to elections, is when anything is done that basically where paper or a barcode or specifically any type of machine readable code, that can be a UPC, an ISBN, a Q code, a QR code, etc. And it connects to a server and retrieves information, tracks information, verifies an ID or hands off the transaction. That's my ScanToNet, ScanDetect, Scan Commerce platform. In that particular patent portfolio, which most all the voting machines are subject to, I have 197 individual patents. So I've been working for now 25 years in the space of paper, codes, transactions, how they're tallied, and how they interact with machines. And that's specifically what happens with the ballot. On the other side of it, for the last 6 years, I've been involved in forensic image detection, primarily in the healthcare industry, but it's advanced forensic detection, where I'm able to detect things on the nano scale. So when it comes to ballots or looking at ballots, I'm going to share my screen with you so I can explain what I do when it comes to ballots. So what this is called is Kinematic Artifact Detection, and this is what you'll see on my screen. Kinematics is basically the science of physics. When a physical item comes in contact with a physical force, meaning something that impacts it. And when it impacts it, it changes the texture of the physical property, in this case of ballots, mail-in ballot specifically. To be a mail-in ballot, it would have been mailed. And to mail that ballot, you would have folded it. What you're looking at on this particular screen is what's called a kinematic bend. It's a wavelength change. This is just where the paper is forever changed. Once you fold a piece of paper, you can never take out that fold. And under advanced detection that my technology platform does, you're able to see the fold in the paper, whether it changes the color temperature or whether it bends the line. This is called Kinematic Artifact Detection, and we use it on ballots to be able to tell, was a ballot actually a mail-in ballot? Remember, if you have a flat ballot in the group that was supposed to be a mail-in ballot, the only reason that ballot should be there is if it was a spoiled ballot. Otherwise, a flat ballot potentially is not a mail-in ballot. And if that flat ballot was filled out by a machine versus a human hand, it is specifically not a legit ballot. So what we look at is the difference between human interaction and machine interaction. This one on the left, you can see it's an oval filled out by a machine. It's easily identifiable. On the right, you can see the dynamics of human hands because human movement is all different. And so we understand the differences between like ballpoint pens, mechanical printed ovals, a Sharpie. This one on the right is actually the fake look printing of a human hand. And so on ballots, we look at these to be able to detect what are real votes like these four, or what are machine created ballots that should not exist in the system. That is called the study of kinematics. And so what we do in our work is we audit, inform through study the ballots just to make sure they're the proper ballots. So I'm going to show you one more short thing on my screen here. And this is just to give you a visual representation of what ballots could be. There are many different types of potentially bad ballots in any system. There's the legal ballot that we represent as white here. There's a counterfeit ballot. That means somebody actually went to the extent to counterfeit a ballot. There's a ballot that's the wrong format, or a ballot that's been illegally scanned and duplicated, since these machines can't tell the difference between a Xerox copy and a legit one, or even a sequence impossibility, such as if when you look at the numbering and they're numbered, say 1 through 1,000 and went through the post office, but they came back in exactly 1 through 1,000 in the same sequence. You know they were never mailed. And then we just call this red one a foreign bad actor. This is only a visual interpretation. And so the way we see ballots is we see them this way. We're actually able to tell in the mix of the white sea of paper of ballots, was this actually all legit ballots? And so this is part of the process we do in kinematics. Now we do it through a very formal process that we work with auditors. You can choose your auditor team, or we could do this just on the ballot. It is simply scanning the ballots in at the right resolution to make an exact forensic duplicate. That is an exact photographic copy exactly of the ballot, or it can also be done with the camera. We have a very specific process to do that. I'm going to share that with you now, because procedure in this process is everything. And that's what has to happen in our procedures. It has to be done the right way. So let me share this screen with you first. If you were looking at coding of a ballot, we code ballots a very specific way. In this way, if it ever came up and had to be a court of law, we can actually go back to the exact box, the exact ballot bag, the exact ballot in the bag, and know everybody that touched it in the process. And so this is kind of what our code looks like. And in our code, you could tell this was box 125 of 1,000 ballot boxes. It was the second bag out of 25 total bags, and it was the 16th ballot in a run of 15, and done on what we call a purple scan line. That means nothing more than how we track these things is highly trackable. And what we call our purple line, it basically means here is basically where everything that happened on that purple line is saved on a purple fob. And that's what's very important. Very important in this process is to track it and have absolute integrity. So I'm going to give you another graphical representation of this, because everything is about transparency. Here's the transparency. If we were scanning a ballot, we would name the machine, the purple machine or the purple camera. Everything, each ballot box, meaning the box where stores the ballot, gets one fob. And so that fob is named for box 1. And then there are subfolders in there that represent the ballot bags, and then the ballots automatically name themselves as they're dropped into the folder. This is so we can track them continually in the process. That's absolutely paramount. And the way we do this is we arrange the teams on the floor for total transparency. Everything's about transparency. So the way we do this is we actually have these ballot scanning tables. We set them up. We have a ballot compliance officer at the head of it. And we're doing basically 3 compliances as we get down to the end to scan the what we call a scan ballot compliance officer, or that could be photograph based. And so this would be what a green line would look like. And depending on the number of ballots we have to do, we set up basically a centralized management area, an approved space where the county or precinct has the ballots. Everything's recorded. Only the green line can work on the green line. You know what everybody does. And so if you look at this by color coded, we're completely able to understand who touched the ballot at when during the process. We document it and have absolute total transparency. So we can work within a team, we can work independently in a team, but it's nothing more than capturing the perfect forensic digital copy of the ballot. We believe that our great country was founded on a great piece of paper called the Declaration of Independence. And we must treat sacred that piece of paper called an election ballot. And so ballots can change when they get into machines. Ballots can have numbers go wrong because the machine was wrong. Since we're looking at that historical artifact, we know exactly what occurred, exactly when it occurred. We just put it through a different process to not only make sure everything's there, but make sure it was fully compliant.
I think you're incredible. But,
Thank you.
So we have 5 questions that the board asked the other candidates. So the first question is, how would you coordinate and procure resources to help with manual parts of the process?
My process is designed to use local volunteer help. We openly welcome people from all sides and influences in the community, because this is not about a presidential election. It's not even about parties. It's only about voter integrity. That is what is most important, making sure the vote integrity is there, that you have one person, one vote, and that your vote counts. And right now, that's what Americans need. They need confidence that their vote counts. And so we can be plugged into a team, and we usually do it with volunteers. And we've had many volunteers all across America where we do this, volunteer and eager to help. And we've got a process to do that to make sure we get good people.
Perfect. And then the second question is, to what extent will you or do you work with others? And I think you've already talked about this.
Right. We're just either plugged into a team, or we can just deal with the ballots while other people deal with the machines. It can be an inclusive or a separate process, or at the same exact time.
Okay. And then question number 3, you'll be working with auditors picked by the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. What skills and experiences would you be looking for with that third auditor?
I would not recommend on any other auditors. It's not my place. It is the place of the local election officials and the local people involved in the election to decide what standards there are and need to be. It would be inappropriate for me to comment on what standards others should hold, other than the ability to do it and have absolute integrity.
I think that is a very integrity-driven answer. Number 4, do you have experience with optical scanners?
Well, as I stated earlier, when you talk about optical scanners, my 197 patents that I have, actually it's 202 patents that I actually have in the optical scanning space, which are all about resolving machine readable codes on paper, products, and servers. 100% of that is done by optical scanning, multiple platforms. So I have 25 years experience and over 200 patents with optical scanners.
I think you're the only candidate that has any experience with optical scanners so far. So that is great news. Question number 5 is, what would you do to display transparency in the process?
Well, our process is completely recorded. You're able to follow every step of every ballot in the way. We do not have any variables in our process. Some people will say, as long as you come in with 2 or 3 votes. No, we have an absolute 1-to-1. If we have a ballot bag that has 100 ballots and we get to the end of the process for that one bag and it's 99, we repeat the process right then and there and find out where the error is. We don't let it build up. We don't try to solve it later. So it's a 1-to-1 process. There will not be even a single error in the process unless somebody has compromised the ballot boxes and bag and actually removed some ballots. And that fact, you want to know that, we'll be able to confirm it.
Okay. And I can just see your love for the country and your passion for what you do. And I really appreciate you coming on tonight. And I want to thank you for this opportunity. And the country needs more people like you, Jovan.
Thank you very much.
I hope the Board of Selectmen choose you this Monday, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And I appreciate everything you've done for our beautiful country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
New Hampshire, pick him.